Arizona, and I'm not talking a fancy high-end resort. They are staying in Glendale, Arizona, next to the stadium where they have one practice field. They don't have a facility. They have a practice field outside the stadium.
Away from family. It's the holidays.
Away from family.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And, like, I'm not going to ever cry for a pro athlete in his financial situation. This is, compared, relatively speaking, to the other teams, it's a giant disadvantage to not be able to ever go home and for 5 weeks be stuck in Arizona. I would also add they're not allowed to take ride-sharing apps. So if they want a car, they've got to rent a car because of the COVID protocols at the NFL and with the 49ers.
Who wants to do that?
They have to, if they want to rent a house, that has to be cleared in a way that, like, it's not... This is not going to be easy. It's not just a football game for that. Like, this is a 5-week grind and a slog, and I know there could be worse places to be than Arizona, but it's not ideal, and I just think people need to keep that in mind over the next few weeks when we look at the playoff picture and just say, 49ers, they're good, they're in. They're going through it right now.
If they win, though, they pull into a 3-way tie with the Vikings and Cardinals for the last playoff spot in the NFC, although the Vikings, of course, have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Schrager. And I hear what you're saying. There might be a population of people saying, well, you know, it's first world problems. But, you know, relatively speaking, compared to what's going on in the league, this is tough to deal with. I will say this, though. They're not supposed to be here in this situation, which is why I'm not going to bet against them.
You know what? I look at the Bills side of this thing. The whole broadcast is going to tell that story, Peter, and it's going to say all that I think the Niners have been through, and they'll probably do a great job of cataloging it. And I feel like the country's going to be rooting for the Niners tonight. Bills have to stomp them. Like, no mercy. Great story. We respect what you're going through. We're going to try to hang. It's
not that easy.
It's not. Of course it's not. But this is a test for the Bills, too. They're usually the darling that everybody roots for, and the underdog, stomp them. The Bills are returning to the same exact site where they lost on a Hail Mary. Like, they have ghosts in that stadium, too. They have not been back there since. This is the last time the Bills went. You know, the Niners have a really tough time going to Arizona in their own way. This was a brutal moment for the Buffalo Bills, who, as we know, went to nuke the bomb and they lost. I also just want to point out, in the next week, the Bills also gave up a Hail Mary, so maybe you want to chuck one of those if you're Nick Mullins tonight. Maybe do it on 1st and 10. They're terrible at stopping it. Lot to prove for the Bills tonight. Don't get wrapped up in the story. Crush them. You need this win.
Bills try to maintain control of the 3 seed in the playoff picture with a win over the Niners tonight. Now, after yesterday's upset win in Seattle, the Giants have won 4 straight. 9-3 for the first time since 1994, when Baker Mayfield was not even alive yet. And they're sitting in that 5 seed. If the playoffs start right now, it would be a rematch for the Titans in the playoffs. They'd get another shot at the Browns. Yeah, huge road win.
Look at those 3 games.
Like it.
That's a fun graphic.
Yeah, that's 4 straight road wins for them, by the way. Can the Browns compete with the big dogs, Kyle, in the AFC?
Dolphins-Bills would be tasty, too. It's a great question and a great weekend for the Cleveland Browns. My weekend started really strange. On Friday, I was invited onto First Take on ESPN on behalf of the show. I'm introduced.
What is that? I don't know.
First Take. It is a talk show that has Max Kellerman and Molly Karam and Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. Okay, and they argue about sports stuff.
Never seen it. All right.
Different network, different time. But they introduced me and they say, Peter Schrager and Kay Adams and Nate Burleson, oh, good morning, football. And then they accused me of being a liar right to my face on the air, because they said, do you believe in the Browns? Kind of like we are now. And I said, you know, I believe that they got to prove that they have a big-time quarterback. And Stephen A. Smith, who is a guy who's been on ESPN for a long time, Philadelphia Inquirer, he said, I watch your show every morning. I love the show. I love the show. I love Kay. I love Peter. I love Nate. And you disrespect our show by coming in here and lying to our face that you don't know if Baker's a big-time quarterback. We already know he's not. And then Max would chime in and said, we all know he's not. He's nothing. And they get crazy on that show. They really go big. There seems to be a thing where they fight with each other, and some people think that they predetermined it. I don't. But they were screaming at me for being a liar, because I thought just Baker has to prove that he's good. Well, Stephen A., he had 4 touchdowns in the first half. So if you want to give me some of those chocolate chip cookies you eat to when the Cowboys lose, I'll take 1 for each touchdown. 4 of them. Baker Mayfield, Kay, to answer your question, I consider the Titans one of the big dogs. I do. I think that they are playoff tested and gritty as hell, and the Browns smacked the hell out of them. We got lineman touchdowns. We got everything. The only thing the Browns have really working against them, in my opinion, is a couple really ugly losses in the division. One was 3 months ago. One was 2 months ago. They're 9-3. 9-3 for the Browns is 19-0 for the Packers or Seahawks. 9-3 is 19-0. I believe.
You believe what? Hold on.
I believe they can hang with the big dogs. Yeah, I can believe they can win a couple playoff games.
Win a couple playoff
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Baker Mayfield was balling out. But I have to give credit to Kevin Stefanski. Phenomenal game plan. The way he came into this game, it wasn't what we expected. We knew that they could run the ball, but because everybody was expecting this strong run game, it seemed like they based their attack off of that. And some of these plays are impressive. It wasn't just the trick plays, it was also the play action. I mean, just check out. You got the handoff to Chubb. He flips it to Jarvis Landry. Jarvis takes a hit, and you get a toe drag swag on the sideline with Baker Mayfield. I'll see you tomorrow. But check this out. Listen,
Baker so casual.
Baker so casual. Watch this. Jarvis takes a shot. Boom. See, Jarvis just eats one so he can deliver that rock. And then we saw the trick play in the back of the end zone. Kendall Lamb, big fella, out there catches the rock. So for me, you go into this game, you're like, it's going to be hardcore running versus hardcore running. Kevin Stefanski, he knew exactly what the Titans were expecting, and he mixed it up. You talk about a mixed bag, you do that segment, he dig deep into that mixed bag and had a great game plan.
First off, I'd like to address Kendrick Perkins, who I have beef with. He was on First Take the other day talking about James Harden, how he won't win the big one. James Harden was a Game 7 away from beating the Warriors.
Hey, Perkins be beefing.
I know, I don't want to mess with
Perk was on Friday, too. Ben Simmons, no mid-game, mid-range jumper.
I'm not messing with Perk, and I'm not messing with the Browns either.
Okay.
The Browns showed me something yesterday. We hyped up Henry versus Chubb and Hunt all week. Derrick Henry's face was on a milk carton yesterday.
Whoa,
was
Baskin.
Was Derrick Henry in this game?
God.
And he's big.
Here's early in the game. It's his first fumble on 307. He had 60 yards total yesterday, and a lot of it didn't matter when the game was actually in contention. The Browns defense was flying all over the field, and I had the Taki jersey on. Taki was out there, yes, but it was everyone. And I got to give credit to Nate. You went to their offensive side of the ball. Their defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, was doing things I haven't seen any defensive coordinator do to Derrick Henry. They bottled him up, but they also made Tannehill beat them in ways that Tannehill just couldn't. Look at
this. Henry. Is a great stat.
Over the last 2 years has been so good in December.
Such a crazy number.
And then let's introduce Joe Woods, because we're going to talk a lot of offensive whiz kids as Joe Woods comes from the Robert Saleh and Shanahan tree there. He was the Broncos defensive coordinator for 2 years, and before that was with the Vikings, Raiders, and Broncos. He coached with Stefanski for 7 years. These guys know each other so well. And if you're going to stop Mahomes and you're going to stop Roethlisberger and Claypool in that game,
can they?
And you're going to, I think they can, because they could control the ball early with that run game, and their defense is really good. I know they lost those games early on, but kind of in on the Browns.
He plays huge, this Woods guy. I'm glad that you introduced him, because the defense is what kind of freaks me out a little bit. They have some big, they give up 35 points. I mean, in that
was
division.
all garbage time. Yesterday.
No, not yesterday. I'm talking about in the division, right? They lost against the Ravens and Steelers by a combined score of 73-13. Woods, hopefully Garrett being out there was huge. Stefanski saying, you know, I know like he was obviously on COVID-19 reserve, but he's coming out there. I don't see an ounce less of energy out of him. All those things are going to play huge.
I'm asking you, can a team...
Is it an opportunistic defense?
Yeah, they were awesome yesterday. Yeah. My question is, like, what they did in September and October, I think we're still
so long ago,
right? But we have to see. They have to play the Steelers again. They got to play the Ravens, right? Again.
So when you guys are in on them,
I am in.
Can we play a little trust game here for a little bit? I don't really need this. Oh, I guess we can look at the schedule. Okay, they've got this is where I am. They have one of the big brothers next week. I want to believe in them, but if you slip up against a struggling Ravens team, we're going to be right back to where we were like in September, so I don't want to get there. I asked you guys, do you have more trust in them, Kyle? I'll give you a team here. Than the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Way more trust.
You got, like, the Cleveland Browns as an organization, they haven't been 9-3 in like 26 years.
Everything.
They just don't do it.
Do you trust them more than the Buccaneers?
More than the Dolphins, and certainly a hell of a lot more than the Titans, who they just beat and were up by 6 touchdowns in the first 5 minutes. I mean, this is a huge day to like credit the Browns.
100%.
Yes, I do trust. I do trust.
Do we trust them more than the Vikings?
Yeah.
Separate conference, but absolutely. I mean, they've got 3 losses, and Derrick Henry is an MVP candidate.
Crazy.
Did nothing.
And he never
fumbles.
Derrick Henry doesn't fumble.
Well, we'd love to see it. Browns 9-3. Enjoy it. Big one against the Ravens this next week. I'm just trying to give I want to know. I like getting the gauge of where you guys are after wins and losses.
They play the Ravens. I don't know who I'm taking in that game. I need to see the Ravens Tuesday night, but the Ravens and Steelers own the
Who's
Browns.
playing for the Ravens? Like, who's going to be out there? We don't even know.
I would expect you to say you have to see the Browns beat the Steelers or the Ravens for you to actually believe in them.
Perhaps. If they lay an egg against the Ravens, maybe I'll be like...
They're 9-3, man.
That was
they're awesome.
What the Titans